Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Hi, Jason. Hi, Jill. Hi, Butch. Hi, everyone there. I wish I could be there with all of you in Dearborn, Michigan. But I have to say that I am incredibly proud of the work that Dr. Jill Stein and Butch Ware have done, not just with this campaign, but obviously with their activism on the ground for the pro-Palestinian movement. For those who are not aware, the very first time that I met Dr. Jill Stein in person was not during a campaign. It was during activism. It was during an Earth Day event here in Boston. And so I have seen Jill Stein not just be a candidate, but also an activist on the ground. What we have seen happen to the Palestinian people, the Lebanese people, what we have seen happen to people in the Middle East at the hands of Israel is 100% not acceptable. And I think what is very concerning to me is that I live in a country where people have managed to make excuses for genocide. And that is not appropriate and that is not okay. Anything to get people to support the status quo. I voted for Dr. Jill Stein today because Jill Stein, from what I have seen, has been consistent on the issues. She has been consistent on the issues when it comes to being anti-war. She's been consistent on the issues when it comes to climate reform and climate issues in this country. Not only does Dr. Jill Stein, obviously, in my opinion, have the best platform when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to the Middle East in general, when it comes to climate change in this country and in the world. But she also is one of the very few candidates that I have seen in a presidential election actually have a platform for Black Americans in this country. And that is very far and few. So when people assume that I would support a Kamala Harris, they are very surprised to hear that I supported Jill Stein. And it is really interesting that after all these years in this particular country, after everything that Black Americans have gone through in this particular country, none of these candidates that are running in the two-party system really want to bring forth an agenda for Black people to help Black Americans in this country. And then there was Jill Stein. So when I vote for a candidate, I'm voting based on policy. I'm not voting based on identity. I'm not voting based on vibes and what some people call joy. I'm not voting based on those things. So for me, it is very important to see if there has been some type of consistency. And I have watched Jill Stein not only be present at these protests, speak out against what Israel is doing, but she has also stood in the face of adversity when it comes to the attacks. Running outside of the two-party system is not something that is easy to do. You are going to receive attacks from all different types. And we've seen them come out of the woodwork. But one of the things that I will say is that whether it's Dr. Jill Stein, whether it's, someone running outside the duopoly that is pushing back against the status quo and that is pushing back against genocide, these are people that we really need to rally around for a larger movement in this country. I never thought I would see the day where a genocide would be appropriate or would be acceptable for people to use as an excuse. But we have to do this because otherwise you could get Donald Trump, or we have to do this, otherwise you could get that. I never thought I would see that day in this country because I thought we were better than that. But it has become very clear to me with what has happened in Gaza that we're not better than that in this country. And I think there is a lot of room for improvement. And the only person that I can see that really gets it and that is serious about building a larger movement beyond this presidential election, that is Dr. Jill Stein. And so I support Dr. Jill Stein also because she not only is consistent, but I feel like she is very serious about this particular issue. And I have not watched Dr. Jill Stein fold under pressure. And that's what you need in a leader. And that's what we should have in a leader. We don't need a leader that's going to give in to corporate donors. We don't need a leader that's going to give into the military industrial complex. And all of these leaders that have appeared in my lifetime that have gone through the White House have done those things. So we really do need a real change. And I think that Dr. Jill Stein is that change. Thank you so much.
What do you tell JB? You're on.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. Stein. Good evening, Dr. Ware. And special hello to Jason, Sam, David, Nada, all of the people who are part of this team. I am one of the co-press directors for the Jill Stein 2020 campaign, as well as I am a host of my own channel called the JB Font Channel, and also co-host of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. One of the things that I think that is the most important is that we're focused on voting for Jill Stein because we have red lines. I have a few red lines. One of the red lines that I would like to highlight is we all talk about the genocide in Gaza, but that's not the only genocide that I think that we need to talk about. What about the genocides in Haiti, the genocides in Tigray, the genocides in Congo, the genocides in Sudan? What about the genocides of Black Americans here that we've been enduring for 400 years, or the genocides of our indigenous brothers and sisters and siblings that have been enduring for 500 years? This is a vote against their genocide as well. This is a vote for reparations for those of us who are descendants of slaves so that we can be made whole again instead of being cast aside by a system that doesn't care about us. This is about declaring a climate emergency because I'm in Florida, we experienced 2 hurricanes, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and they have ravaged the Southeast, and seeing what they have done. That in itself, we're experiencing ecocide. One of the reasons why we're doing this is also because we do not want to see a police state that targets us, especially those of us who are poor and marginalized in this country. And that's one of the things that it matters the most to people like myself. We experience genocide after genocide after genocide. And what do the two parties do? They look us in our face and they will say, hey, if you vote for us, we're going to give you this. And then guess what? The moment we try to get it, they take it away. Ultimately, what we want is an ethical, equal, egalitarian system that actually caters to the people. And here's one thing that I think that sets Jill Stein apart from the rest. She didn't talk about the middle class this and the middle class that, and then cater to the rich. She talked about the people who were disenfranchised, the poor, the impoverished. As somebody who knew what it was like to be a homeless child, that spoke to me. Kamala Harris didn't speak to me. Donald Trump doesn't speak to me. I was catching hell during a Trump administration. I'm still catching hell during this administration. It doesn't matter. And ultimately, what needs to happen is that we actually vote our values and then use those values to come together to organize. You see, somebody like Jill Stein, she can't do it alone. You need people like us who go outside of electoral politics to build dual power in order to circumvent this system, in order to make it easier for somebody like a Jill Stein to lay it up. That's one of the points. It's not just about electoral politics. You have to use that as a tool in order to get what we want. And the thing is we know that the ruling class do not want us to truly have what we should have. And we got to talk about the policies and get on those policies because, look, Jill Stein's policies, some of the best policies in this race. And so I just want to say that I want to thank Dr. Jill Stein for being a leader in this. I want to thank Dr. Butch Ware for being willing and able to be tagged in. I want to thank all the people who I've worked with in close proximity. I want to give a big thank you to Dave, as well as Sam, Jason, as well. I want to give a huge thank you and a big gracious hello to Nada for being very patient with me, especially when it comes to scheduling. And I also want to thank everybody, Georgia, Lateria. I want to thank Rose. I want to thank all of you who have been doing, some powerful work on the ground. Thank you to Justin and everybody who's been on the ground work, because ultimately what needs to happen is happening. And look, we're going to keep doing it. Hopefully we'll get to 5%. And even if we don't, we left it all on the table. And I'm just proud of you guys. So let's change the system. Let's continue to do it. We're going to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, James.
Yeah, that was awesome. JB killed it there. At least I think so. I just want to pause this here for a second, and then we're going to go into some updates. There are some things that have changed. Any comments about that first, Danny, before I go to the map updates? Also, let me know when you got to tap out, because Danny's a trooper. I know you weren't feeling too well.
Well, thanks, Sabby. Both you and JB really just killed it there. I mean, what else is there to say about this? For me, I voted for Jill Stein and I voted for Jill Stein in the past, in past elections. And it's because, some people have been asking me, why not PSL? Why not other alternatives? Why not just not vote? And I don't really knock anyone for making those other choices. But for me, especially in this election, I felt like it was really important to push the charge toward a 5%. I think when it comes to this whole understanding of viability, it's just really important to understand that the Green Party put in as many resources as they could and did a lot of work to try to build up toward, and hopefully they'll be successful, that 5% of the popular vote, so they can become more of a vehicle to not just, be more competitive in U.S. elections, but really what it is, and we both know, Sabby, a lot of members of the Green Party, we both know that many of them are actually organizers. They're people who do independent media, like Margaret Kimberly. They're not interested in Jill Stein becoming president of the United States necessarily. What they want to see is that there is more resources toward getting these positions to become more of the mainstream in the United States and to become more of a vehicle for the real organizing that has to happen outside of the electoral system. So that is why I vote Green, and I just want to echo all the points that you two both made there, because they're good ones.
Awesome. Okay. Well, JB is here again. Danny, just let me know in private when you want to, tap out. Just let me know.
Sure.
But we do have new results. What's up, JB? You came in just in time for new updates.
I have to spend some time with JB, so I'll be here for a little bit.
Hey.
Yay. I'm so happy. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. This is the dream right here. Look. Sabby and Danny, it's great. I love it. But yeah, the pinch me, I'm dreaming. But look, this race is turning out very differently than what I have expected. I've been paying really close attention to the ballot initiatives in Florida. Needless to say, it's bittersweet. And from what I'm telling from some of my comrades on the ground, as far as Amendment 3, which legalizes marijuana for recreational use, I don't think it passed, which is surprising to me. I'm shocked. I'm pissed.
You want to smoke in Florida?
They all do. In fact,
I was
look,
about to say, like, how, what? Anyway.
yes, in fact, sheriffs were doing commercials for legalizing it. They were saying, like, there's no point in us using our resources to go after people for marijuana use. That's a waste of our resources. Sheriffs were literally doing ads.
Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.